Okay, guys, so what about the talk of China invading Taiwan and there being some kind of altercation over on that side of the world? I think this is one of the stories where certain elements of the alternate media and the mainstream media are obsessed, and therefore we need to be cautious. Now, in the recent election in Taiwan, 60% of people voted for the parties who are actually in favor of rejoining China. So this whole hysteria that we get saturated with in the West, that the Chinese or the Taiwanese are totally adverse to this kind of reunification with China, is a little bit of a red herring. And we've seen it before. What do they tell you about Crimea? They disregard the feelings of the people of Crimea and they tell you, oh, well, Russia invaded Crimea. They definitely wanted to be part of Ukraine. Don't believe the referendum. It's all bad Russia. Same with the people of the Donbass. They pay no attention to the self-determination of the Russian citizens in the Donbass and that maybe Putin could be there in some way, in a beneficial way to them. They pay no attention. So perhaps they're hyping up this thing because they know it's on the cards that at some stage Taiwan is going to want close relations to China. And they can portray it as an act of aggression by China when it's really an act of democracy by the people. And then, they can engineer a whole situation of conflict right there. But as much as I'm skeptical in many ways about China, and I don't see them as necessarily a friendly force for the causes of the West, I don't like the policies of, it's not really communism, is it? But the control mechanisms there, no, I don't like those. But the Chinese don't have a history of aggression. And why, in this day and age, do you really need aggression, right? You don't interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. Is there really any need for China to use aggression to incorporate Taiwan? No, because economically, with the Belt and Road Initiative, the BRICS, maybe it would be beneficial for Taiwan to be aligned with China rather than the dying Western empires. America destroying themselves quite okay. There's no need for China to invade a population who are ill, obese, increasingly lazy in many cases, politicians in China and Europe who are becoming more corrupt than a banana republic. We have crumbling infrastructure. Even Donald Trump used to say at his rallies, you go to these places in China, they've got these brand new state-of-the-art airports. You come back to the US, everything's falling apart. They've lost their manufacturing base because it's all being exported to China and the Far East. And they throwing good money after bad into Ukraine. NATO depleted of arms and equipment and military vehicles, military aircraft because of what's going on in Ukraine. I'm not sure about the aircraft, but anyway, about what's going on in Ukraine. It's mainly tanks and artillery they're becoming depleted of. Less reliance on the American dollar. China merely needs to wait for things to capitulate as they would, and they can just go and pick up the pieces. The new form of warfare is economic, especially from China's point of view. America need wars because the economy's in the tank and they've run out of ideas. So do the West. China don't need wars. Even when they say, they're sending a ship to support the Houthis, they won't really get involved in there. They'll let that all play out. They'll just sit quietly doing their Belt and Road, which is their way of gaining global influence. They'll exert global influence through BRICS, through their power in manufacturing. They don't need war. There won't be war. There won't be an invasion. I mean, Mike Adams, who I used to like a lot and really enjoy, to me, he's become an hysterical Hannah, and he pushes narratives which I feel are pro-globalist, really. Maybe he doesn't realize that. But one of those is saying that China's got all these tactics and there were these secret documents about China's going to invade America. Nonsense. And why would Putin want to invade the rest of the Europe and take on all those problems? All they will do is wait for the inevitable to happen. Now, Grant Shapps, who is the Minister of Defense now, he has a checkered background. You can even read about it on Wikipedia. He's had several names. I don't know how he even qualifies. He had to resign under the Cameron government because of a conflict of interest. But anyway, he's now Secretary for Defense when there's no way his children ever go and fight for the country. And he has no military credentials at all. He wants more people to sign up for the military. Yeah, more of your sons and daughters must sign up for the military. Now, why would anyone do that? What are you actually fighting for? Fight for your country for what? For woke? If you're joining the army in the US, UK, one of the NATO countries, all you're fighting for is the destruction of your countries, the imposition of wokeness, mandates. You're fighting, and a lot of the squaddies, they come back with PTSD and other terrible injuries. They come back with problems. So many of our homeless in the UK are ex-military people. That's the thanks you get. And then they'll take anyone from anywhere in the world, refugees or not, and put them up in a hotel, give them pocket money. They won't be going to fight. They'll be sitting pretty. While your sons and daughters, you've lived in this country, your heritage is in this country, you know no other country, you don't have anywhere else to go because this is your roots. But your children will be sent to die in some foreign bankers' war, which will deliver absolutely a zero benefit to the European people, to the American people, but you'll be sent to die for it. So absolute nonsense. Why would anyone do that? But do you notice they're so worried about borders? The border of Crimea is vital. The border with Ukraine is vital. Taiwan's borders are vital. But when it comes to Europe and the European Union, it's Schengen. Borders, don't worry about those. We don't want a border in Northern Ireland, a hard border. Oh my God, we're going to have a heart attack, a hard border in Northern Ireland. We can't have that. You can't leave the EU. You've got to stay part of a bloc. Everyone's got to be in this thing. We've all got to have this freedom of movement. Oh, no, but when it comes to the others, no, then we must recruit people to the army and they send you there to get blown to smithereens to protect those borders. This is how ridiculous the whole thing is. I don't think anyone is really buying it anymore. I was also thinking of some other people I wanted to add to the controlled opposition list. Are any of you guys still following that Mayo Tusi guy? I never fancied him. I know he was saying some good things around Brexit, but when he started being invited onto Mike Graham's show, that seemed to me too cozy with the mainstream media. And I see he's kind of, he's pushing certain narratives very, very, very hard. I mean, he's not just taking a nuanced view. He's really jumping the gun on one side. If you see his tweets today, you'll know he's gone absolutely ballistic about some cartoon, a Bob Moran cartoon, which is actually quite apt in what it depicts. And I don't think it's just logical. It's logically accurate. So anyway, I did have something else to say. I'm just trying to think on my feet now about things going on. Yes, I don't really think this whole confrontation with China needs to take place in that respect at all. And I do think that they've played out all these narratives, but when it comes to it, they've ruined the base from which they draw people into the military. A lot of those people are now the people who are actually awake and are likely to be more awake, partially because in the UK and the US, they're Donald Trump supporters and they see what went on there, and they see all the hate and the anger against Donald Trump by the same people that want to send them to war. There's a conflict with the mandates, conflict with wokeness in the military. All these concepts, when they collide, are decimating the nationalistic feeling that's needed for people to go and fight the wars. And right now, we have to say, what does America as a concept or Britain as a concept represent now? We have a romanticized version of what we think it represented in the past, but it's not what it represents now. And it's definitely, you're only fighting for the elites, for their companies, for their global power games. Remember what Henry Kissinger said, that people who fight in the military are stupid, dumb animals to be used as pawns in foreign policy. And I think, the man spoke the truth. Talking about, I think I had another Henry Kissinger quote last time when I said was going to say to you, it's dangerous to be America's enemy, but it's absolutely fatal to be their ally. And I think the people in Taiwan realize that. They've probably noticed over the years that when they're no longer useful, they get the So they might be thinking of that when America cozying up to them. They might be realizing they're being a pawn in a game. Yeah. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you all staying nice and cozy in this very, very windy UK weather. It is windy, but of course the media are making a meal out of it for obvious reasons. We've got to egg on the whole global warming, climate change story, haven't we? Although people are really sick of that one. I don't think it's going down a bomb, which is why they've kind of dropped it, along with the 15-minute city thing, which they're keeping quite quiet because they know they can bring it on through stealth, through the decimation of the high street, through high business rates, etc., etc. I think we're going to time out pretty soon, just enough time for me to say thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it.